Do you know you could have kidney disease and not even know it? 9 out of 10 people who have stage 3 chronic kidney disease do not know it. The rate of kidney failure for African Americans is 3 times higher than among Caucasians. And one reason for this is that they are not aware when they have earlier stages of kidney disease, at a time treatment could prevent the damage from progressing to the point when dialysis or kidney transplantation is necessary. In addition, due to high rates of diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease, Blacks and African Americans have an increased risk of developing kidney failure. African Americans need to be aware of these risk factors and visit their doctor or clinic regularly to check their blood sugar, blood pressure, urine protein, and kidney function. Be aware. Get tested. The life you save may be your own. For more information, contact urbankidneyalliance.org.
What's going on? Welcome to World Kidney News. I am your host, Steve Belcher. Good evening to everyone. How you doing out there? Man, it's been a day, but it's been a great day. So look, our chef, Chef Borley had an emergency. And just keep him in your prayers. All right, it wasn't no emergency where he had to leave town, but keep Chef Borley in your prayers, okay? We will come back next week with a different chef. Even though we're supposed to end the series in September, we're going to extend it. But don't fret, because October, we're coming out with the new show, The Kidney Cookery. So that's going to be an awesome show, let me tell you. So tonight, I still have our dietitian, contributing host, Cassandra Floyd. And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to touch on several topics pertaining to people with kidney disease. We're going to talk about the renal diet and alcohol. Yes, if you have kidney disease and you used to drink, I'm not talking about overboard, but if you used to have a glass of wine, a beer, something like that, you can still drink. However, talk to your doctor. Oh, and before I go on, let me just do this to cover myself. This is an education disclaimer. The information broadcast on Urban Health Outreach Media is provided for educational purposes only and is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Now, with that said, like I said, we're going to talk about the renal diet and alcohol, eating healthy, right? Strong bones. But we don't have a lot of time to do it because our dietitian is working on a strict schedule. So let me bring her on and let's get started. Share this broadcast if you're on dialysis or you got kidney disease and you haven't started, you had a transplant. Share this post so other warriors could get on and see what's going on, especially from a professional renal dietitian such as Cassandra Floyd, Masters Prepared. So without further ado, I want to give her the VIP intro and we're going to get this party started. Hey, Cassandra, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm not sure why I got that double play with the music. It must be a bug in the system. Yeah. So what's going on?
I am just making sure I keep educating my patients.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, do a lot of dietitians, I know you only can speak for yourself, but do you hear feedback from your patients that they never met a dietitian such as yourself, or they're not used to getting the type of services that you provide?
Well, yeah, sometimes I will meet patients and they'll say, well, I talked to a dietitian, but they didn't tell me that. Or they'll say, well, they didn't explain that very well. So I will say we do encourage, especially our chronic kidney disease patients, to see someone who specializes and focuses in on chronic kidney disease, because we take the time to research and focus in really on kidney disease and the things that surround it.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this because this is I think this is a big topic, the renal diet and alcohol. The reason why I think it's a big topic because a lot of people do social drinking, and before people had kidney disease, they may have been a social drinker. They go out, party, whatever the case may be. Now all of a sudden their diet is limited. They're scared to death. Maybe the doctor or the nurses at the dialysis unit, like maybe the patient may confide in one of the dialysis technicians and say they go out or they used to drink, whatever the case, and they may get some false information from the technician, like, no, you can't do this anymore, you can't do that, and leading to confusion. So let's just unpack this when we're talking about alcohol and the renal diet, because I mean, alcohol is still going to be there, kidney disease is going to still be there, and you're going to have holidays, you're going to have different social gatherings, and so patients may feel like they stuck or they can't even participate because they got kidney disease. So let's kind of unravel some myths and give some people who may have been maybe occasional drinkers or, just had some wine before they knew they got sick, and now they're like, oh no, I can't do it, and then they scared to death, maybe because they got some misinformation. So this paper I got, it says it's a dietitian reference tool, not a patient handout. And I got this from one of the large corporations. So evidently it tells me that they don't want patients to have it because they may take it too far or may not understand exactly how to read the serving size, the calorie, the potassium, and the phosphorus that's included in alcohol beverages. So the talking points for discussing alcohol with patients, of course, this is a disclaimer, as Cassandra will say, it must be approved by your nephrologist first.
Yes. So I always tell my patients, you need to speak to your nephrologist, your primary care physician, one or the other, but you need to speak with them because different medications can also have an effect on the alcohol, or the alcohol can have an effect on your medication. Some of them, it can decrease the absorption of your medication. So you don't want to have certain drinks or too much to drink, and then your medication is not as effective.
And
So
no, go ahead, keep going.
So you want to make sure the first thing you do is have that conversation with your doctor so that they can do a deep dive medication review, and also look into the whole picture, because kidney disease is a factor, but if you're also having some underlying liver issues, this is a whole picture that you want your physician to look at.
Are you looking at the same paper I'm looking at? Because it talks about that.
Yeah, but that is a thing. That's why we really encourage the patient to talk to the doctor. Now, if the doctor does give them a go and says it is okay for you to have alcohol in moderation, and which in moderation would be in a social setting, 1 glass of wine, 1 drink, that is considered a social drink. So in moderation. So if you are a go and the doctor says that is okay for you to have that, as dietitians for our kidney disease patients, what we educate them on is the phosphorus level that you will find in beer. So we discourage using any type of beer because it is very high in phosphorus. And for some patients, they're very sensitive to the type of phosphorus that you will find in the beer because of the way it's fermented.
Let me just say one thing. I just want to interject, and don't be scared to have that conversation with your nephrologist, because a lot of patients may feel that if they had that conversation with the nephrologist may shut them down, or they may not even feel comfortable talking about that. But I encourage you to have that conversation if that's what you want to do.
Yes, I encourage my patients too. I actually can. I had a patient in the past who was going to her 50th high school reunion. And she said, Cassandra, all I want to do is have a glass of wine. And I said, okay, well then let me go get the doctor and bring him in. She, no. And I said, well, wait a minute. So, I had to encourage her that this is perfectly fine. This is a perfectly fine and normal conversation for you to have with your physician. For one, you are your own best advocate. So one, educate yourself on whether or not it will have those effects on your medicine. You will never know that without having that conversation with your physician. Mm-hmm. But then also to allow the physician to give you those recommendations on how you can go about having those social situations that you want to participate in. Mm-hmm. And to my patients, she couldn't believe it. The physician, I stood there with her because she was like, you're going to stand here with me if we have this conversation. So I stood there with her, no problem. It helped ease the conversation a little bit. And I kind of interjected and just explained, this is what she wants to have. And she's, I don't drink all the time. And I was like, it's okay. You want to have a glass of wine at your 50th high school, reunion. Mm-hmm. And the doctor to her surprise, was like, enjoy the wine and you better enjoy the party, you know? So
Sure.
she was, elated that she got that information, and she came back from the weekend and said she felt so much more comfortable because she felt like she was a part of her table. And that one, she was comfortable in knowing the fact that it was okay. And the doctor had told her for her, it was okay. So she said, I didn't feel like I was sneaking and doing something I shouldn't do. She said, so I really enjoyed it. So that conversation eases those types of anxieties.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it helps to, like I said, educate you on knowing what you can and cannot do that will benefit or not benefit your health.
Right. And no, go ahead.
So actually, like I said, beer is usually not a good choice for kidney disease.
Yeah, I want to move to that.
Yeah, so we usually use a glass of wine, get some high antioxidant, red wine or something, if the doctor says
sure.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, these are some things that people should think about with kidney disease, and if you want to continue your alcohol intake, is the history of alcoholism.
Yes.
And two things that Cassandra said was alcohol may be contraindicated with some medications. And also you got to think about liver disease and other comorbidities. One thing I want to not go into, because I know this could be a big conversation, but just on the surface, because I saw some comments in the thread. Another thing that alcohol has an impact on is blood sugar level. One, if the patient has diabetes, you got to take that into account. Mm-hmm. Also, you got to discuss the risk of hypoglycemia of drinking on an empty stomach.
Yes.
Another thing you got to think about is discuss the risk of hypoglycemia, which is high blood sugar, with some mixed drinks or cocktails.
Yes.
And you got to take a note that non-alcoholic beer is higher in CHO or carbohydrates than alcohol, the alcoholic version. Talk about some of that.
So we can talk about the hypoglycemia. And like I said, hard liquors usually do not have higher phosphorus levels. So if the doctor has allowed you to have that one social drink, that would be a lower phosphorus choice. But with hard liquors, a lot of people have a tendency to mix them with things. Sodas, juices is what usually comes into play. And depending on the amount of juice or soda that's used to mix those drinks, a diabetic can have a spike in a blood sugar. The other thing is drinking on an empty stomach can cause a low blood sugar. So diabetics have to be very careful, especially if they're on insulin and they've taken some insulin and then they had a drink, but they didn't have anything to eat. Because sometimes at a party, you can stand around and chit chat and talk and have that one drink in your hand, but you never make it to the table to grab some snacks, because you may get caught up in a conversation. As you're in your conversation, you take a sip or two, but you have to focus in on making sure that you do eat. So those are some things, like I said, with diabetics, they really have to watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Now, I just want to say you're right, because they say dialysis friendly options limit to one standard serving.
Yes.
Bourbon, gin, rum, scotch, vodka, and whiskey. And then they say least amount of fluid, potassium, and phosphorus.
Yes. And
talk about that.
So for example, those mixed drinks. Let's say you take a mixed drink and you do only have that one serving of vodka in the mixed drink, but the mixed drink is also intertwined with pineapple juice and orange juice.
Right.
and grapefruit juice. Some of those juices are going to be high potassium juices. So, and they may squeeze some fresh orange juice in there. So those are things that you also want to watch out for. The other thing, like a Bloody Mary made with tomato juice, very high sodium. And usually when you get a mixed drink at a bar, you can't necessarily ask for low sodium tomato juice. But thinking about those types of drinks, you want to think about the things that you are mixing in and the other components that they have, how it affects the kidney disease.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, most definitely, for our dialysis patients, especially watching that fluid content, because for a lot of patients, alcohol can make you thirsty. And especially if you have sweeter drinks, sweeter mixed drinks, it can also increase that thirst there. So in turn, after you have that mixed drink, you may have the desire to have more water or additional water than you normally would. So that's what you really got to watch out for, kind of those symptoms and things such as that.
Mm-hmm.
Balancing those drinks and possibly some extra water because you're feeling a little thirsty.
Mm-hmm. So they say mixed drink options. They say limit to 5 to 8 ounces. They got martini, daiquiri, allowed fruit, whiskey sour, Irish coffee, margarita, no salt, gin and tonic, gin gimlet, and mojito.
So those because mojito is made with lime, and like I said, with those mixed drinks, those daiquiris, think about the fruits that they're being made with. Like for example, a mango daiquiri would not be a good choice. Mango is a very high potassium fruit, so you wouldn't want to choose a mango daiquiri. So making sure that you still think about the education that you received on low potassium fruits and things such as that.
Okay.
And like I said, monitoring the actual fluid ounce, and you want to account for that for your daily fluid intake too.
Mm-hmm.
It's
what about liquors?
That's not additional. That is in combination with your daily fluid restriction.
Mm-hmm. What about liquors? I never heard of this before. That's how ignorant I am to alcohol.
So liquors are the things that you just mentioned, your rum, your vodkas, those type of things.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are your liquors, which are low phosphorus products. So they're not a high phosphorus alcohol. But like I said, even with liquors and wine, those are still two things that you want to still have that discussion first with your physician.
Mm-hmm. Now, they have here drinks that may be higher in potassium are not recommended. And I know this is something that a lot of people like, and that's pina colada.
Yeah.
They got pina colada, tequila sunrise, Bloody Mary, and the screwdriver.
So those have tomato juice mixed. Those last two that you mentioned, they do have a tomato mix blend in them. And not only will you have a high potassium, because tomatoes are your higher potassium, you also have a higher sodium level. The first two that you mentioned, a lot of times they use coconut, and the fruit juices that are used in those can be higher potassium. Potassium can be good for you prior to that end stage renal disease and you're on dialysis. Actually, potassium is a really good product prior to being on dialysis because it can help lower the blood pressure. But once you're on dialysis, we really want to watch how much potassium we take in.
Cassandra, I just want to clear something up right quick. Wait a minute. So Miss Mongo, she's not referring to liquor, she's liquor. And I looked it up on Google and it's spelled like that, and it's a strong, sweet alcoholic liquor, usually drunk after a meal. So apparently it's supposed to be a strong, sweet alcoholic liquor.
So let's see. Okay, so yes, that is, it's basically just like a liqueur. It's
Okay.
not going to have a higher phosphorus, but the thing remember with that is just like with diabetes, you want to watch the sugar.
Okay.
Watch
Okay.
the sugar content.
Okay.
Really watch the sugar content.
So basically, when we're talking about alcohol and the renal diet, we want to make sure that we stay away from beer and a lot of mixed drinks because you risk hyperkalemia, which is high potassium, and hyperphosphatemia, which is high phosphorus.
Yes. And like I said, monitoring, maybe focus in on those things that you're mixing those mixed drinks with. Because if you're using high potassium ingredients to add in, then you take something that maybe the doctor said is okay for you to have a mixed drink, but now we turned it into a high potassium mixed drink.
Okay.
So you gotta watch for those types of things that you're actually mixing with. So if the doctor has given you the go ahead to have a 5-ounce mixed drink, like basically usually a serving is like a 1-ounce shot of the actual liquor with the rest of the ingredients mixed in for about a 5-ounce total serving. It's mostly 5, somewhere, sometimes 7 ounces, sometimes 6. But you want to really focus in on the things like as you're choosing the drink.
pH, which basically centers around this. So Cassandra, it says bones do so much for the body. They hold our muscle. They help keep organs in the right place. They help us sit up straight. They help us walk. So with that being said, Cassandra, speak from the dietitian point of what happens when bones get weak. We know what happens when bones are strong, what they help us do. So what's the consequences of having weak bones?
Well, when your bones start to weaken, one of the main things is it puts the patient at risk for fractures. So what could be a simple trip for an individual, you trip over something and you keep on moving. For a dialysis patient with weakened bones, a simple trip could mean a broken ankle. Mm-hmm. So those actual fractures are a lot easier to happen. And then at that point, they're actually even harder to heal and recover.
Mm-hmm. So patients can experience difficulty walking, achiness,
a lot
on
of
the body, worsening maybe back pain or arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes, because those bones are just they're not as strong to hold you like they normally would, and they're in almost a state of, most people could say arthritis, but it's not necessarily arthritis because this is different. But your bones, you literally feel your bones, they're just not strong enough to withstand a daily activity. Mm-hmm. So where patients will say, well, I used to walk a lot, but now I can't. It's just my legs are hurting and things such as that. That could be from weakening of the bones.
Okay. Now, Cassandra, can you explain to us why strong bones need calcium? And can you just tell us what calcium is and why it's important for renal patients?
So calcium is that substance that sits within the bone and really helps to keep the bone strong. And there's a balance within the body, especially for dialysis patients, that we have to make sure we keep in balance. There is that balance of keeping the calcium within range at a good level, and also keeping the phosphorus down and within range. Because when things such as the phosphorus goes up, it can make your parathyroid gland overreact. And when that happens, then your bones start to basically leach out, and it starts to pull out the pull out the calcium. So when you're experiencing high phosphorus levels or high PTH levels, your bones are trying to reconstruct that balance within the body. So it thinks it needs to release more calcium to help with that balance. But what ends up happening is your bones start to weaken because it's so busy trying to help create this balance back within your body. Mm-hmm. So that's why phosphorus levels, I know some patients probably say dietitians are always on me about my phosphorus levels, always on me. That's all they talk about is my phosphorus levels. But we talk about it a lot because it is very important. It's very important. It's not that we don't want you to have, it's that we just don't want you to have certain things, because you'll find things that have a lot of phosphorus or a lot of convenient foods. So maybe some foods that are not so healthy for us. And it's not that we're just like, don't eat those things, because we're really concerned about your phosphorus levels. Because once the damage is done,
it's done.
Going back to
absolutely. I've seen it. I've seen the damage.
So that is why we are so focused on it, because it's honestly something that, as much as we would love to help, if the damage is done, I can't go back and help you fix it. Mm. So we want to stop it, control it while we can, so that you don't see that damage. The other thing is, once those balances are out of whack, not only does it affect your bones, those high phosphorus levels and the calcium not being within range like it should, because everything's just out of balance, it also affects the arteries. So high phosphorus levels deposit minerals, like hard deposits within the body. Mm-hmm. And some of those effects are problems with your eyes, because they're small blood vessels. It will filter to the ends of the fingers and the ends of the toes, and you'll see deposits on which they almost can look like warts or little humps. And those are deposits from over excess of phosphorus and calcium.
I've seen that in a lot of patients.
Should be. So then what that eventually does, it blocks those blood flow. It blocks the blood flow. It also can create hardening of the heart, of those arteries.
Wow.
And those are not arteries that, we want to keep those as healthy as possible. So monitoring your phosphorus levels, your PTH levels, and things such as that is not just for bone health, but it's also to maintain cardiac health while you're on dialysis too.
Wow. You said a lot. Let's talk about something that happens to a lot of kidney patients. That's parathyroidectomy. And I know you're not a physician to get deep in, but that normally occurs when the patient has overactive parathyroid, correct?
Yes.
And you just can't control it.
when you can't control it, because there are medications that patients can take to help control it. But when that medication just is not working, sometimes that is a recommendation that the physician will make.
So let's talk about the reference range for phosphorus. What is the normal goal that they want renal patients to? I know each place has their certain like benchmark goals, but what is the normal goal, like the general guideline that they want a patient's phosphorus level to be and to be considered healthy?
Usually somewhere between 3 and 4.5. Some physicians are okay as long as you don't go above a 4.8.
Why would they do 5.5?
5.5 is getting there.
I have on this paper.
Yeah, we still would love to see it below a 5.5. Now, when we start to see you at a 5.5, we come to talk, because we definitely don't want to see it get above a 6. So if we hitting that 5.5, we come to talk, because we on the border, and we getting too close to falling over the ship.
Sure.
And we don't want to go over the ship, so we prefer to see it in that 4.8 range, because that gives you that leeway. Okay.
So what about the parathyroid hormone?
Well,
what should that range be?
That is going to depend on your physician, but on average about 150 to 600.
Right. Okay. And so if it's over 600, should patients be concerned?
Well, you want to ask, what can we do to get it down? What can we do, especially if you're sitting right at 600-700? What tweaks can we make to get me below and back in range? Anytime your labs are out of range, you don't want them to stay out of range for an extended amount of time. So what you want to ask, what can we do? What are we doing to get me back down?
Now, Cassandra, let me ask you, so I got something I want to ask you, but what about the calcium? What should that goal be?
So calcium, you usually don't want to go over a 12.
Okay. This goal they got here is 8.4 to 10.2.
Okay. All right. So that is the actual, that is on dialysis. That's on dialysis. And you don't want calcium to be high, because it's not good for you when your calcium is too high. And it's also not good when your calcium is too low.
Now, Cassandra, you've been a renal dietitian for a while, and when patients start, I know that they're dealing with all sort of emotions, because this is like a new normal for them. How do you get through to the patient that you go to sitting in a chair, you're ready to talk, and they give you the cold shoulder or have a negative connotation with themselves, or they're still dealing with maybe depression or anxiety, and they don't want to hear what you got to say? How do you deal with that, and how do you get through these type of patients that are experiencing this type of problem?
Well,
adjusting.
Me personally, I have always felt like you do have to give your patient time, especially if it's their first day, their first week. You have to give them time. Sometimes the first time you meet them, you just introduce yourself. That's sometimes what I do. I just try to get a feel for my patients and see what kind of space they're in. Sometimes before you can get your name out, they're asking you 50 questions. So that patient is ready. But sometimes you are going to have those patients. They're just not ready. They're overwhelmed. A lot has happened in the last couple of days. They may not. This may have been something that was a complete surprise to them, and they ended up in the hospital, and all of a sudden they ended up at dialysis, and they had no notion that this was even happening. So I usually approach those situations, sometimes literally the first introduction is who I am, what I'm here for, and I'm here to help you. And I'll let them know I'll be back to see you tomorrow. We'll talk about some things about nutrition, and I come back the next day. I also approach it as little bits of information because the renal diet is very extensive. It's a lot to get used to because there's a lot of things that we've been told all our life. Eat this, is great for you. Eat this, is great for you. And then all of a sudden you have someone telling you don't eat it. So I like to take it slow with my patients. The first thing I actually like to do is find out what's important to them, because they will have heard things and been told things from the doctor, and certain things trigger with them. For some patients, it may be with the potassium, because the doctor has said if your potassium is high, you can have a heart attack, and that is very scary for them. So that may be their focus. For some patients, the doctor said, well, your diabetes caused this. And then all of a sudden they are scared and like, I don't know what to do about my blood sugar. So that is their concern. And when you're starting out with a patient that is overwhelmed and just maybe not quite ready, you really need to find out what's important to them and start at that aspect. And when you can really get them to, or educate them on what's important to them, then you can turn and focus on the rest of the agenda that you know is going to help them with their health.
I know your time is kind of limited. We're at about 45 minutes, but I wanted to ask you one question before I let you run. And that question is, can you just explain to patients who may be on dialysis right now why it's so important to take your phosphorus binders with the meal and not before and not after?
Okay, so binders basically act as, I always describe it as a catch sack. So taking the binder, if you take the binder an hour before the meal, it's like opening up a balloon, and it's good for about 30 minutes, and then you hit it with a pin and deflate it. So we're still not going to eat for an hour, and we got this deflated balloon. So it's no good to us. When you take the binder with the meal, you put that binder in. You want to take that binder. I usually encourage my patients to take that first bite of meal, so they have a little something on their stomach, eat their binder, then finish their meal. So that way that binder is within the GI tract, and it almost creates a catch sack. And as you are eating the rest of your meal, as your meal is being digested, it is going through that catch sack that the binder has created, and it's allowing it to catch any little bit of phosphorus that may be in this meal. You still want to have lower phosphorus meals. You don't want to have high phosphorus meals, and because you can't overload this catch sack. It would be like dropping a 20-pound weight onto a balloon. So we still want to stick with lower phosphorus meals, but that phosphorus binder in at that time frame will catch any little phosphorus that it can and help, expel it out of the body. If you take the binder after the meal has already digested, and the binder is basically sitting on top. So think about trying to fill a bag. If the bag is up here and the groceries are down here, it's not going to catch nothing. So you always want to make sure that you focus in on when you take that binder, because that is very, very important.
Right. Okay. Okay. We had a question. With your with your work, do you discuss culture and diet?
Yes, yes, because your culture is very important. It's very important, and our culture is how we eat. It's how we, for some people, it's how we learn to eat. It's how we learn to cook. Your culture has a big thing to do with that. For some cultures, food is a big issue. It's a big issue. It's a big issue at holidays. It's a big issue at parties or celebrations that different cultures have. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I discussed that. We discussed that a lot because you want your patients to still be a part of their culture and eat the foods that they're used to eating, but finding those things that are within their culture and maybe not even take them completely away, but showing them how to adjust that meal so that it is still healthy and good for you. So, for example, the other week when we cooked the braised collards,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people grew up with their collards being cooked in, salt pork and things.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's not that, and some people don't eat that soul food. To be honest, collards are extremely, extremely nutritious food. But just altering the way you cook it doesn't take that away from your culture and making sure you have these things that you're used to. You just want to make it a little more healthy. So yeah, that's actually a very important part of food and educating. To be honest, the college I went to, that was a whole class. They made sure that dietitians did focus on that and multicultural aspect of how food affects people.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring you back and do a show on multicultural and dietary and kidney disease because we know kidney disease affect not just blacks, whites,
Yes.
just all across the spectrum.
Yeah.
And that will be a great topic to discuss. And I'm glad Don Kirkowski, who is a social worker, a licensed social worker and kidney disease warrior, brought that up. And she grew up with Italian American food.
Yes.
And she said it was hard.
Yes, because there may be is a lot of tomato in that within that diet. So um I think it's very interesting because one, from my patients of different cultures, I learn about their culture and their food aspects, and I like to research the things that they tell me. So I'm like, tell me what's in that dish, give me those ingredients, let me know, break it down, and let me figure out and talk to you about how we can adjust it. I actually had a patient from Africa, and a lot of their stews and dishes were very tomato based heavy. But working with him, and his wife was the cook, and working with his wife on how to just adjust those recipes, it didn't mean we had to take everything away from him that he's used to eating. We just had to find the things that were fine within the diet, and then the meals that he still did love, just adjust them a little bit so that we could take out certain things and replace it with other things. And learning from them about different foods is pretty cool. So I encourage dietitians to really dive in with those patients because you get better results. Because they are still enjoying what they know how to do, one, the foods they know how to cook, and the foods they enjoy. But if you can teach them how to enjoy those foods in a healthier way, you're going to get better results. So everybody wins in the end.
Oh, absolutely. Because you got some people who, born in America that like other dishes
Yes.
from other countries. And they may feel like they lost now. But hearing like what you're saying, you give people hope. In fact, Gail Glacier says that would be awesome if we can learn more from her, meaning you. Because maybe a lot of patients watching this go to centers that the dietitian don't even touch on this. Maybe she just come and go over the labs and keep it moving because she may be overworked.
Yeah, so I encourage you to talk to your dietitian. Sometimes so if we do get overworked, but we always as a dietitian, I feel like we like when the patients are interested and want to learn, because it gives us something that we know we're giving them something they want. So ask those questions. Ask those questions. You know, if you have a favorite dish that your mother taught you how to cook, and it's maybe the dish that you always have on your birthday, you still want to have this when your birthday get here, but here is the recipe. So teach me how I can adjust it a little bit. And let them have that conversation with you. Things that you can substitute out that may be better for you.
Awesome. Cassandra, I mean, I know you stayed over more than your time, but I definitely appreciate you coming on. You know, I know as time permits, you would definitely contribute more. So thank you so much for coming on tonight. And I'll address some of the questions. Yes, if you can, I encourage you to go back through the feed. A lot of people have comments for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to definitely look at your schedule and see if we can catch you again, possibly next Sunday when one of the chefs are available, so we can finish up with the Cooking with the Kidney Chef series.
All right. Let me know. Just send me a message.
All right, Cassandra. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right. You're welcome.
All right. Take care.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, this was, I haven't finished the show. Let me just say this. We got some great things coming up. I'd like to thank Cassandra Floyd for coming on. We do have access to other renal dietitians. So if Cassandra Floyd is not available, we could definitely bring another dietitian on. But I wanted to tell you that coming up in October, man, we got some great shows coming up that you need to be watching. In addition to the shows that we already have, we're actually going to be adding 4. I just got to talk with the other person. But we got Jason Nunez and Rich, 2 guys, 6 kidney show every other second and the 4th Thursday of each month. We got Mental Health and Me with myself and Sade Cutler, licensed clinical social worker. Then we got the Kidney Cookery. I don't have the days and time for that show yet, but we're going to look forward to probably be on Friday evenings. I mean, where else, like what other place are you going to go for all these different shows? The Lisa Baxter Show, Sisters Against Kidney Disease, Finding Your Will to Survive with Renato Alexandra, Warriors Quest, Urban Renal Talk with Tamika and Steve. Did I say the Lisa Baxter Show? I did. World Kidney News, Kidney Stories with Uncle Jim, and now these 3 other shows. Guys, this is the place to be if you want information, education, and awareness. Tune in to the Urban Health Outreach Media. Gloria, let me go back and answer your question. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for watching, Gloria. I want to go back. Okay, right here, Miss Gloria. You asked what type of labs include all these parathyroid and calcium tests. actuality, if not on dialysis, what are so? Look, these tests like this, the parathyroid. Uh, if you're not on dialysis, that won't be a test that your doctor needs to check. But if you want to check like your basic labs, like the calcium, phosphorus, it's basically on a BMP. It's called a basic metabolic panel, or Chem 20. Chemistry of all the different tests or panels. But your doctor would know your primary care. You say, hey, doc, I want you to do a BMP, basic metabolic panel. And if you have some concerns about a specific test, you could maybe ask them to include it. But if you're not dealing with kidney disease, you wouldn't need to do check your parathyroid hormone unless you have issues with your calcium and phosphorus, or some issues unrelated to kidney disease that may affect that, for them to do the test. So other than that, let me just say this. If you're getting full quickly, like feeling full quickly, here's some tips to consider. You may want to eat some 5 to 6 smaller meals throughout the day rather than 1 to 2 large meals. Okay? Everybody's different. Plan ahead to keep snacks on hand to eat in between meals. Eat high protein foods during meal times to achieve or keep your albumin level high, or albumin at its goal. Drink nutrition supplements for additional calories or protein. Limit drinking soda and chewing gum, which can cause swallowing of air. Increase weekly exercise, which can assist in improving appetite. Limit eating high-fat foods, which take longer for the body to break down anyway. Also, drink liquids between meals rather than during meals. And then feel free to ask your dietitian for more tips to increase calorie and protein intake when feeling full quickly. Guys, I'd like to thank you for joining this special broadcast of World Kidney News. Again, we apologize for any inconvenience for Minister Borley not being here. Please keep him in your thoughts and prayers, as he had an unexpected emergency. You're welcome, Miss Gloria. Let me see if any other... Jonathan, thank you for watching. Jared Brown, thank you for stopping by. Miss Gloria, Don, thank you guys. Bridget, and pretty much everybody else is the same, but God bless you guys. Have a good night yourself, Don. Haven't forgot about you. We're going to be reaching out to you for the show in October, so be on standby and part of the panel. With that being said, I'd like to leave you guys with this PSA. And again, God bless you. Thank you for watching. Share this broadcast. Let's make this network our network as part of the kidney disease community, where people could come that deals with kidney disease, kidney failure, and watch a show and get educated and entertained at the same time. God bless you. Thank you for watching, and have a good evening. Peace.
Do you know you could have kidney disease and not even know it? 9 out of 10 people who have stage 3 chronic kidney disease do not know it. The rate of kidney failure for African Americans is 3 times higher than among Caucasians. And one reason for this is that they are not aware when they have earlier stages of kidney disease, at a time treatment could prevent the damage from progressing to the point when dialysis or kidney transplantation is necessary. In addition, due to high rates of diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease, Blacks and African Americans have an increased risk of developing kidney failure. African Americans need to be aware of these risk factors and visit their doctor or clinic regularly to check their blood sugar, blood pressure, urine protein, and kidney function. Be aware. Get tested. The life you save may be your own. For more information, contact urbankidneyalliance.org.